I watch my parents travel now, and honestly, the airport feels like a hostile environment for anyone over 65. App-only check-in, 0 human beings at the desks, and TSA agents yelling about shoes. It just seems so overwhelming.
It is overwhelming by design. The entire system is built for the 28-year-old business traveler with a smartwatch. But there is a hidden parallel system at the airport, a set of federal protections enacted by the Department of Transportation that almost no one talks about. If you know how to invoke them, you are practically untouchable.
Untouchable? What do you mean? Like priority boarding?
Way beyond boarding. Let us start with something called a non-passenger escort pass or a gate pass. Most people think once you hit TSA, you are on your own unless you are 21 or younger.
Right. I always have to hug my mom goodbye at the security checkpoint and just pray she figures out the tram system.
You do not have to do that. Under DOT guidelines regarding passengers who need assistance, airlines are permitted to issue a gate pass to a non-traveling companion. This pass looks exactly like a boarding pass, allows you to go through TSA security right alongside them and walk them all the way to the boarding gate.
Wait, I can just ask for a pass to walk them to the gate? Even if I am not flying?
Yes. You approach the full-service check-in desk, present your valid government ID, and state clearly, I am requesting a non-passenger escort pass to assist a vulnerable traveler with cognitive or mobility navigation. The ticket agent will process your ID through the secure flight system and print you a pass. It is completely free.
That changes everything! But what if the airline refuses? Sometimes those agents are so dismissive.
If they refuse, you calmly ask for the Complaint Resolution Official, or CRO. We will get into the absolute power of the CRO later because that is your ultimate trump card. But first, we need to talk about the physical toll of boarding and why the phrase elderly means nothing to the airlines.
My dad has terrible arthritis. Getting down the jet bridge is agonizing for him, but he absolutely refuses to use a wheelchair. He is too proud. So he ends up pushed around in Group 5.
That is the biggest trap. People think the only way to get early protected boarding is to surrender to a wheelchair. That is false. The Air Carrier Access Act does not require you to be disabled. It covers anyone who needs extra time due to a physical limitation.
So he can just walk up when they call pre-boarding?
Yes, but you must do it correctly. Do not mention age. Age is not a protected class in boarding. Mobility is. Before boarding begins, go to the gate agent and state, I require pre-boarding for additional time down the jet bridge due to mobility limitations. By law, they must let you board before the first-class cabin. They are federally prohibited from asking what your medical condition is.
So he does not need a doctor's note or a special wheelchair tag?
No documentation required. And here is the kicker. If you're traveling with him to assist him, you board with him. Period. Do not let them split you up. Ask the agent to link your boarding for companion continuity. But speaking of mobility, let me expose how airlines completely mishandle wheelchair requests and how to force them to do it right.
Okay, wait. My aunt did request a wheelchair last year in 2023. The guy pushed her to a checkpoint, left her there to wait for another pusher, and she almost missed her flight.
This happens daily. It is called the handoff trap. Airports use third-party contractors for wheelchair services. They maximize profits by assigning pushers to zones. One takes you to security, another takes you to the tram, another takes you to the gate. It is a disaster.
How do you stop that? Just beg them not to leave her?
No. You dictate the terms when you book. You do not just check the wheelchair box online. You must call the airline and request the specific special service request code. Tell the agent, I need continuous mobility assistance from check-in through boarding with no handoffs. This forces the airline to assign a dedicated escort or directly penalizes the contractor if you are abandoned.
Wow, continuous mobility. I am writing that down. But what happens when she actually gets to TSA? The last time she went through, they ripped apart her bag because of her ice packs for her medicine.
That is unacceptable and completely illegal under TSA's own standard operating procedures. If you know the exact phrase to use, the TSA agent has to back down instantly.
They told her the ice pack was melted, so it counted as a liquid over 3.4 ounces. They literally threw away her insulin cooler packs.
They lied to her, or they were poorly trained. Medically necessary liquids, gels, and aerosols are absolutely exempt from the 3.4 ounce rule. The key is in how you present it. You cannot just leave it in your bag and let it trigger the X-ray alarm.
So what is the process? Pull it out?
Before you put a single bin on the belt, you must visually declare it. Hold up the cooler bag to the screening officer and say clearly, I am declaring medically necessary liquids and accessories. Once you establish it is medical, it is removed from the standard liquid rules. And those ice packs? According to TSA guidelines, ice packs, freeze packs, and gel packs required to cool medically necessary items are permitted regardless of their physical state.
Regardless of their physical state? So even if they are partially melted?
Exactly. Partially melted, slushy, it does not matter. If they argue, ask for a supervisory TSA officer and quote the medical exemption. And this rule extends to the aircraft itself. Do not let the airline count that medical bag against your carry-on allowance.
Wait, medical bags do not count as your personal item?
Under federal law, medical assistive devices and medically necessary supplies do not count toward your carry-on baggage limits. But this leads perfectly into the biggest battleground for seniors, the airline seat itself, and how airlines illegally deny accessibility seating.
Seat selection is the worst. My grandmother needs an aisle seat so she can get up and stretch her knees, but the airlines now charge like $60 just to pick an aisle.
They do charge for preferences. They are legally prohibited from charging for accessibility needs. This is where you have to stop acting like a customer and start acting like a protected passenger under Part 382 of the Department of Transportation regulations.
Part 382? What does that do?
It mandates that airlines must provide certain seating accommodations to passengers with disabilities without charging a fee. If your grandmother cannot step over other people due to arthritis, an aisle seat is not a preference. It is an accessibility need.
So you just call them and say you need an aisle seat for medical reasons, and they drop the fee?
Yes. You call the accessibility desk, not general reservations. You state, I am requesting a seating accommodation under DOT Part 382 for an aisle seat with an immovable armrest due to joint mobility limitations. They must block that seat for you. If they tell you to pay for it, you immediately invoke the person I mentioned earlier, the complaint resolution official.
Okay, you mentioned the CRO before. Who is this person? It sounds like an airline manager?
A manager is just an employee who cares about the airline's bottom line. A complaint resolution official is heavily trained in federal disability law. Every airline is legally required to have a CRO immediately available, either in person or by phone during operating hours.
So they have the power to actually override the gate agents?
The CRO is the final authority on accessibility issues. If a gate agent denies your pre-boarding, or a flight attendant tries to force your medical equipment into the cargo hold, you do not argue with them. You say, "I demand to speak to the complaint resolution official immediately." The moment you say those words, the entire tone changes. Because if a CRO violates DOT regulations, the fines against the airline are massive.
That is wildly empowering. It takes all the fear out of asking for help.
That is the point. You shouldn't have to fear travel. But there is one final deception you need to protect yourself against. And it happens before you even buy the ticket.
What kind of deception? Are you talking about senior discounts?
The senior fare is essentially a relic of the 1990s. It is largely a marketing gimmick today. Airlines will offer a tiny percentage off the base fare, but they attach restrictive, non-refundable conditions to it.
So you are saying senior fares are actually worse?
For seniors, flexibility is the most valuable currency. Health issues flare up. Appointments get moved. If you buy a restricted senior fare, you are locked in. What you actually need to look for is a standard main cabin ticket that specifically offers fee-free changes and cancellations to travel credit. That protects your travel investment far better than a $10 discount up front.